Welcome to Family Gamer TV. We're back with the Pestridges, and you've been looking at Pokemon, but in particular Pokemon Typing.
Yes.
Typing Tutor.
Yes.
How have you been getting on with that?
Yeah, good. It comes with this little wireless keyboard, and they just have to sort of practice their typing skills, but it seems to sort of engage them a bit more because there's Pokemon characters. I don't know much about Pokemon, but my son did. And it sort of shows you different characters, and you have to link it in with their name or things like that for what you type, or...
Yeah, so you've not done a lot of Pokemon, but it's a long-standing sort of series on the DS. Yeah. And the basic premise is a little bit like Skylanders, but you collect just the characters in the game. Right. So as you play, you explore these worlds in the game, and you slowly build up your sort of collection, little menagerie of these Pokemons. And each Pokemon's different, it looks different, has its own name and its own different attacks. Okay. And it's like a fighting game, basically. Yeah. So by collecting them...
you can then... battle or something, can you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, right.
So I thought you might like it because I know that you are quite keen on Skylanders as a family.
Yeah, oh, yes.
So Pokemon's a little bit like that, but you don't have physical figures. Yeah. So Pokemon Typing, as you've been seeing, takes that sort of craze...
educationally, isn't it, then? Yeah. Sort of puts it onto a kind of touch typist kind of route.
Yeah, so it takes that sort of collect 'em craze, but then applies it to something that's like a proper touch type tutor, really. Yeah, I know you sort of have been educationally involved. How did you find it?
Basically, the keyboard becomes like a map, and you unlock different keys, which are like different areas of the map. And so there's one bit, and that's very much it's sort of like your practice thing, and you do one where you just use your little fingers, and you have to type as the bubbles come up, and it's very much left brain, right brain of trying to get the bubbles each time. That's really good for it, but when I wasn't sat with my daughter doing it, she was just using her fingers that she felt most comfortable with. Yeah. When I was with her, she then practiced it properly. So it might, if you actually wanting it to work like that, it would need a little bit more supervision.
Yeah, I think as the game gets harder, what happens is you need to type a lot quicker. And then it starts bringing in more and more tips of how to get your fingers on the right keys first. And it's almost... half sort of tricks the player into saying, actually, I think using just your two little fingers was the start of that. Yeah, so as that happens more...
it builds up the skill, so you have to go this finger, that finger. Yeah,
but to start with, I think it is... I think that's probably quite good.
Yeah, and it builds up confidence and engagement in it, doesn't it? And then eventually they're like, oh, I've got to do this properly.
Yeah. So do you think that's something that your kids would actually do? Do you think there's enough enjoyment there? It doesn't feel too much like homework?
No, and I mean, it's been something... Our school did the same thing with a BBC dance mat, like a free thing on the computer. And my son was really into that. They said it as a sort of an optional extra homework thing. And that's the same sort of thing, practicing touch typing, but not quite so much... fun. It's much more just like type. So the novelty wears off much more quickly. Whereas with this, you sort of progress through levels, and then you have it in a different context. And 1 minute you've sort of got these bowls rolling towards you, and then the next minute you've got actual Pokemon coming, and you're trying to name the different Pokemon. And so it looks like it will build and build. I'd be interested to see where it heads to as it keeps going.
Yeah, because it's really like a proper video game. It's not just this is just about typing. No, exactly. There's a game element to it too. Yeah. Wonder whether the kids almost don't realise that they're practicing their typing skills. Ideal. That's a win, isn't it? If you get something and they're learning without actually knowing it.
And will that be available? It's on the DS at the moment, or the DS 3DS.
Yeah, so we played it on the 3DS, but you'll be able to play it on any DS. It's a DS game. Right. The keyboard comes with it. So in the pack, you get the keyboard, you get the game, you get a little stand, which again we were using, so that the DS stands up. And you can play it on any DS, so it just hooks in wirelessly. Yeah,
well, I like that. And it's then quite sort of compact still, isn't it? It feels like they're sort of almost got their own little laptop, which me are really like, oh, I'm typing and I've got my laptop kind of thing. It's really nice,
Cool, and potentially, it might be a nice way for you guys to get into the big Pokemon game, the collecting and the proper game.
Well, when Sam was younger, he used to have like the actual reel, right, where you get a ball with a Pokemon in it, and they used to collect those. And he's done the Pokemon trading cards in the real world, but we haven't done much virtual Pokemon stuff. So
well, there's a new Pokemon game out called Pokemon. Each Pokemon game has a different colour.
Right.
And the previous one was black and white. Yeah. But this time it's black and white 2, because it's like a sort of sequel to that.
They run out of colours.
Well, I don't know. No, I think it's something to do with the fact that it's a similar set of Pokemon in it. Okay. But it's like the sort of next step on. Yeah. But it's still compatible back on the original DS, so you can play it on your DSs.
So are they platform games, basically?
It's like an action-adventure game. So it's top down, so you're looking from overhead, and you have a little character, and he's running around a map. A little bit like Zelda, if you've played that. And so as you explore, you encounter people, and there's usually a story that's unfolding, but you also encounter these different Pokemon. And if your Pokemon can defeat the Pokemon you encounter, then you can trap it in those balls that you were saying Sam had, and then so as a Pokemon trainer, you can then train that up as one of yours. So yeah, it's quite involved. So I think there's a lot to learn. There's just more and more to catch. And it's the sort of I want to collect them all sort of thing.
It links in with the whole TV, because I've seen Pokemon on the TV, and it's exactly that sort of idea, isn't it? I want to be like the guy from the Pokemon, and he's got Pikachu, and he's got all these other ones, and I want to battle. I want to be the goodie, and at least you're not having to buy every single one. At least it's all within the game. They just have to find them and keep them. It's like when we did Moshi Monsters, and they had to find the different Moshlings to go in the zoo. Same sort of thing. At least you weren't then having to go out and buy the things, because they've got them on their DS instead. Yeah,
so you just buy the game and you've got them all in there. So all you're just paying with time.
As opposed to Skylander, where you're out each time, another £7 gone.
That's all we've got time for this week on Family Gamer TV, but we'll be back with more soon.